This is Cashing Out on VSiN, the sports betting network.
All right, welcome in. It's Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo, taking you through your Tuesday night into the early hours of your Wednesday morning here on the program. We've got a lot of fun stuff to get to. Picks, winners, great guests. How about our friend Tony Mejia, NBA writer, Sports Illustrated, and handicapper for Proline TV. You follow him on Twitter at Mejia Dinero. He's going to be joining us right around the halfway mark of the hour to come. Can't wait to break that down. We'll break down some new odds in the MLB market here shortly. Some intriguing stuff on teams to be leading their division in wins come the end of April. Fun way to do a little short-term future, if that makes sense, if that's not too much of an oxymoron. We'll get into that market in a little bit, highlighting the next 3 weeks in Major League Baseball. But before we get back on the diamond, we've got to take a look at the NBA, because as if the Memphis Grizzlies news wasn't crazy enough, jarring enough, getting rid of Taylor Jenkins, their coach, in the middle of a playoff run, and we've seen Memphis go from the 2 seed in the West down to the 8 seed. Now they're back up at the 5 seed, tied for the 4 seed with Denver, coming off a 124-100 win off, or in Charlotte, I should say, Tuesday night. Well, the Denver Nuggets have followed suit, and with 3 games left in the regular season, fired the head coach, Michael Malone, who helped them win a championship less than 2 calendar years ago. Make it make sense. Malone out, the general manager in Denver also out, and there have been rumors swirling about a power struggle between the two, about different philosophies between the two. You would think in such a case, when the GM and the coach hate each other, that if someone's getting fired, the other is there to stay, that ownership's going to side with one over the other. In this case, it's like 2 toddlers arguing. Both of you go in timeout. Both of you go in opposite corners. Both GM and head coach out in Denver. 3 games to go. How about that? Ownership punting on the rest of the season. I mean, there's no way that there's a happy ending to this story, right? I don't care if they're the 4 seed, 47-32. Game behind the Lakers. I don't care if Denver creeps up and takes the 3 seed. I don't care if they drop to the 8 seed. There is no way the Denver Nuggets are a good bet to win the Western Conference. And they're sitting there on the odds board, and there's been minuscule movement. They're 8-1. They were what, 6-1? A few days ago, but they're still the 4th shot. It goes OKC minus 130, Golden State plus 550, Lakers plus 650, Nuggets 8-1, and then a drop-off worth a dime as the Clippers are the next shot, the 5th shot at 18-1. Make that make sense. You think the Nuggets are that much better than the Clippers, the Wolves, and hello, the Houston Rockets 25-1. By the way, Sunday night I placed that 27-1. Got that in pocket. Rockets to win the West, 27-1. They're the 2 seed. On principle, if you have a 2 seed in the NBA sitting there at 27-1, 7th shot on your odds board, you got to take them. You got to take them. Take them now, hedge later. 27-1 on the Rockets. Inconceivable. Wasn't that the old line, Princess Bride? The little Italian guy, right? When death is on the line, never trust a Sicilian. Inconceivable to have the 2 seed in the Western Conference be sitting there at 27-1. I had to grab it. Memphis, 55-1, and they're currently the 5. I mean, we could talk about the current seedings of these teams. None of it matters, folks, until game 82 is in the books. This thing is fluctuating so much. I mean, you have the Lakers in the 3 spot at 48-31, followed by the Nuggets and Grizzlies at 47-32. The Clippers and Warriors, Golden State all of a sudden is back in the play-in despite being 7-3 in their last 10, because the Clippers are 8-2 in their last 10. They're both 46-32. Clippers, if the season ended now, would have the 6 seed. Golden State, the 7 seed. Minnesota, 46-33, the 8 seed. I mean, 2 games in the loss column separating teams 3-8, 1 game in the loss column separating 4-8, and a virtual tie from 4-7. It's nuts. You could conceivably have a 7 seed in the play-in who has the same record as the 4 seed. That's what we're looking at now, a 4-way tie. That is absolutely unheard of. To have the 4 through 7 seed, especially in this new era, new-ish era of the play-in tournament, to have them all with the same record, and then one team's getting screwed having to play that extra game and play it against potentially a grade 8 seed in Minnesota. Right? And who knows? Maybe Minnesota will be the 6th seed. Maybe they'll be out of the play-in. But that 7-8 game is going to be a dogfight. Loser of that game should, on their home court, prevail over the Sacramento-Dallas winner. But it's going to be a dogfight, that 7-8 game. I mean, honestly, if we're being real here, this is a bad year for the play-in. Because teams 7 and 8 are so much better than 9 and 10. Like, this is a very unnecessary year to have a play-in. Minnesota's got 7 games up on Sacramento. We don't need to see Sacramento and Dallas. And it's a disservice to a team like Minnesota who's having a great year, who's just in a stacked conference. Just send them right to OKC. There are years when it's close, when there's a game or two separating the 8 and 9 seed, the play-in's fun. This is a year where the play-in is unnecessary to me. Because what happens, okay, say that there's an upset. Say Sacramento beats Minnesota, bounces the Wolves, and at 41 and 41, they're playing OKC. They're going to get cakewalked. Do we need to see that? Is that good for the NBA? To see Sacramento, Oklahoma City, the off chance that that happens? Or would you rather see Anthony Edwards go up against SGA? What's better for the product? I think this is a year where the play-in is not best for the product. In the East, I'm kind of okay with it because you got crap from 7 to 10. 4 sub-500 teams. The Magic are creeping up to 500. But you got 3 games separating 7 to 10 there. And I get it. You can't pick and choose the spots. Personally, I could do without the play-in altogether. Just dilutes the product to me. It's at the pro ranks, you don't need 20 out of 30 teams playing postseason basketball. That's how I feel. It's a little participation trophy-ish. And I get that, like I said, it could have upside if there's a year where, the 8 and 9 seed are separated by a game. But, oh, well, that's the regular season. That's why you play games to win and you stop with the load management crap, right? I thought it was already too much when you had 16 out of 30. I thought it was having over 50% of the league make the playoffs. I thought that was a lot. Now, you got 20 out of 30 teams playing some form, some capacity of postseason basketball. I mean, I don't know. If you want to toy with it, get rid of conferences, just go 1 to 16. Do it that way. Best 16 teams, boom. But, we don't need to sit through Sacramento, Dallas for the loser to either get wiped by Minnesota or wiped by Golden State or pull off the upset, and then we miss out on Steph versus SGA or Anthony Edwards versus SGA. We don't need to miss out on that product. Not when the Timberwolves have won 7 more games than Sacramento. That doesn't help the game, in my opinion. But it is, when you look at these odds to come out of the West, I mean, to me, for that very reason, right? It's unlikely that a Minnesota would get bounced by Sacramento. But how are you going to have Minnesota shorter than Houston? When there's a possibility they get bounced in the play-in, and then best case scenario seemingly feels like a trip to OKC. How are you going to have them at 20-1 if that's the case? And Houston, who's going to host the winner of the first play-in game between the 7 and 8, that's locked up. That's guaranteed. Rockets, 2 seed, lock it in, 8 million rupees. Like, how are you going to have Houston be 25-1, be the 7th shot on the board when they would have home court advantage round 1, home court advantage round 2, when they play pestering, stifling defense? It's maybe the second best defensive team in the West behind only Oklahoma City. You don't think that translates into playoff basketball? I sure as hell do. I know that they're young. That's probably the knock on Houston is their youth. It's why back at the trade deadline, I was saying I would love to see Jimmy Butler on Houston because I wanted that veteran presence. I mean, they got Fred VanVleet. He's a veteran, right? But he's no Jimmy Butler. I would have loved to see Jimmy Butler on Houston. But while they're young, sure, knock them for that if you'd like. They're deep as hell. Jabari Smith, former Auburn stud, a Bruce Pearl product, He is really coming into his own. And for a guy who was a top draft pick, he is embracing this 6th, 7th man bench role. This Houston team is deep. I'm not saying they're going to knock off OKC. I'm not saying I think Houston's going to win the West. I'm saying it's a foolish price at 25-1. And when I saw 27-1 on Sunday night, I'd have felt like a moron passing up on that. Get through the opening round in the 2-7. I mean, I can't justify Golden State being plus 550 when they're going to have to go on the road. And Houston, didn't Houston just beat them 106-96 the other night? Golden State's going to have to go there. Can't justify it. Can't justify fading a 2 seed with home court advantage. Folks, you can justify taking your betting to the next level with our friends over at First Bet. Whether it's Santa Anita, Gulfstream Park, or the road to the Kentucky Derby, our buddies at First Bet put the action right at your fingertips. Sign up now, firstbet.com. That's the number 1, stbet.com. Use the promo code VEASAN200, and you can score a 20% rebate on all your wagers for the first 60 days, up to $200. Don't miss out. Bet smarter today at firstbet.com. And don't forget to check out VEASAN at the Track, hosted by our buddy Mike Somich and Aaron Halterman. Live every Friday, VEASAN YouTube channel, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, with a replay on SiriusXM, channel 158, Saturdays, 8 a.m. Eastern. Going to take it from the hardwood to the diamond up next. Talking a little baseball here on Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo. Wild Tuesday to recap and a fun Wednesday to look ahead to. You don't want to miss it here on VEASAN, the Sports Betting Network.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VEASAN, the Sports Betting Network.
Cashing Out continues with me, Joe Ceraulo, taking you through the late hours of your Tuesday night into your Wednesday morning here on the program, taking you over to the diamond after an exciting Tuesday in Major League Baseball. And, earlier during the day, alongside our terrific producer, Adam Bernard, we were looking at DraftKings, and we noticed a really intriguing, somewhat live, somewhat futures market, frankly, a hybrid between the two. It was a special market, and it was MLB divisional win leaders at the end of April. 3 divisions were posted, along with teams to lead the division in wins after April. So when I say it's a live/futures market, right, April's already underway, but it's also a bit of a future. But you're not tying your money up longer than 3 weeks. So it was a fun little way to get in on the month. And there were 3 divisions posted: AL West, NL West, NL Central. This is earlier Tuesday. It's off right now, which could be, just because most of the games have just concluded. So I don't know if this is going to pop back up Wednesday in the morning or not. But if it does, certainly something that is intriguing to me. And especially the AL West side of things. There was a lot of value. The Dodgers were not the biggest favorite among the AL West, NL West, and the NL Central, those 3 divisions. No, I didn't just misspeak and say the Dodgers and the AL West. Of those 3 divisions, the Dodgers were not the biggest favorite. They're minus 200. They're the odds-on favorite in the NL West. But the AL West, the Texas Rangers, were minus 270. The biggest favorite. And the Rangers, Tuesday night, fell to the Cubs and fell out of first place. The team that is now in first place in the AL West. Now, mind you, with this market, it's to have the most wins, not to be in first place. Rangers have 2 more games played than this team, but the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim are actually now in first place in the American League West. Go figure that. I picked the Angels to be the last place team in the AL West going into the season, and they have won 7 out of their first 10. They are 7-3. The Rangers are 8-4. Rangers still have more wins than the Angels, and that's something you have to look at. In a market like this, who plays the most games? Because the Angels could have a better winning percentage as they do now, but they've won 7 out of 10. The Rangers have won 8 out of 4. Angels might be in first place. Rangers would win the bet if the season ended today. The season ended right here, right now. So that's what's really interesting about this market. But the Rangers have dropped 2 in a row from 8-2 to 8-4. Angels have won 3 in a row from 4-3 to 7-3. And do they have any head-to-head in April? What else is pretty crazy is that the Astros, Mariners, and the Athletics all started Tuesday with 4 wins apiece. Now, 2 of those 3 teams now have 5 wins after winning on Tuesday. But they all started Tuesday with 4 wins apiece. So the Angels, it is going to get tough for them. And the reason I look at them is because if this market pops back up on Wednesday, the Angels were sitting there at plus 850. Now their schedule, they're about to embark on, or they already have embarked on quite the road trip. They won the first in Tampa. They've got 2 more in Tampa. Kikuchi versus Pepio on Wednesday. Soriano versus Littell. I love Jose Soriano, by the way. Sometimes he can be a bit wild and erratic, and sometimes he can get shelled, but he's got plus stuff. Then they're at Houston for 3 and at Texas for 3. So Tampa, Houston, Texas. 9-game road trip. Not a walk in the park. Then they're home for San Fran and Pitt, at Minnesota, at Seattle to end April. Pitt, Minnesota, Seattle. If this market is something that's going to be available, every day, I don't know if this is a one-time special or what. Reevaluating things April 21st as the Angels get ready to play Pitt, the Twins, and the Mariners, that's intriguing to me. It's also 13 days from now. But the Angels are playing really good ball to start the year. And what's crazy is the Rangers have played 2 more games than them. The Rangers have a negative run differential. Despite being 8-4, they've been outscored by 12 runs, 51-39. The Angels have scored the most runs in the American League West. Only the Astros have allowed fewer. Stros have allowed 40. Angels have allowed 50. But the Angels have scored the most runs in the AL West. This was a team that I really doubted its offense coming into the year. And they have been quite the surprise. Even Kyle Hendricks on the bump. This is a guy who I've called him a batting practice pitcher. Seemed like he was ready to be out of baseball. He gave him 5 scoreless, 4 strikeouts at Tampa. He's got a 1.64 ERA. It's his first 2 starts of the year. But he's turned into really respectable starts. 6 innings of 2-run ball at St. Louis. I looked at that, I thought it was a fluke, because Kyle Hendricks, even in his worst years with the Chicago Cubs, recent years with the Cubs, what did he do? 2024, 4-12 with a 5.9. Still owned the St. Louis Cardinals. It made no sense. His career numbers against the St. Louis Cardinals are insane. So I figured he's opening the year in St. Louis. It was fluky. Went to Tampa Bay and shut him out through 5. By the way, if you don't believe me on the St. Louis stuff, last year Kyle Hendricks was 4-12 with a 5.9 ERA. July the 12th at St. Louis, 7 innings of shutout ball. Friday, June 14th, against St. Louis, only went 4 1/3. I think there was weather. 0 runs allowed. Even in the worst year of his career, he went 11 1/3 scoreless against the St. Louis Cardinals. Sometimes guys just have it against certain teams. I don't know what it is. Hendricks has been a Cub for over a decade. Different lineups, different teams. Always owns the St. Louis Cardinals. Bizarre. Going around the rest of the diamond on Tuesday, let's look at the NL East. That wasn't posted in any of those odds, but the Mets, did they tie Philly for the division lead? Oh, the first place Mets. Don't look now. 11 games in. But my New York Mets, 8-3. Winners of 6 straight. They're 5-0 at Citi Field, ladies and gentlemen. And the team with the best pitching in baseball had a collective staff ERA going into Tuesday's bat with the Marlins under 1.9. It was like 1.91, best in baseball going into the series. They shut out the Marlins game 1. It got lower. They allowed 5, but they scored 10. How about it? Clay Holmes notches his first win in the better borough. We can call Queens the better borough, right? It's where I was born. Gotta call it the better borough. I'm not saying it's the best borough, but Queens versus the Bronx? Yeah, we'll definitely give the edge to Queens in that one. Clay Holmes, 5 1/3, 4 earned, 10 Ks though. Wow, how about that? 10 of his 16 outs via the punchy. 87 pitches, 56 strikes on a cold game in Queens where the start time was pushed up from 7 p.m. to 4 p.m. local time because of the weather. I heard the promenade, the 4 and 500s at Citi Field, were actually closed for this game. I don't know how true that is. I heard they let people with tickets in the promenade move down and that they closed the seating up there. As someone who used to work for the Mets and work at Citi Field for 4 years, who has sat on the promenade for a long time because my father, you know him from Father Knows Bets, George Ceraulo, used to run the promenade for 12 years at Citi Field, it gets freaking freezing up there. It could be 40 degrees, and the real feel on the promenade with the wind coming off Flushing Bay will be 15. No exaggeration. So I heard the promenade was closed for this game. Freezing in New York, but the Mets putting up 10. Soto, 2 for 4. I think he's got a hit like every game, or at least he's been on base every game this season. Hitting .308 with a .438 OBP and an OPS over 900 in the young season. Frankie Lindor, guy was hitless their first series, got his average up to 243. Devers-ish like start. Although Devers was, the 0 for 19 with 15 Ks was unmatched. But Alonso, 2 for 4, 4 ribeyes. Bases clearing double when it was 6-5 to make it 9-5 and busted open. Nimmo went yard. Nimmo with a big RBI double. 2-run double, rather. Offensive eruption for the Mets. Even when guys aren't figuring it out. You got the bottom of the lineup's ugly batting average-wise, right? Beatty, Acuna, Vientos only hitting $125. Tyrone Taylor, Jose Siri, both well below 200. Bottom of the lineup, not hitting. Jose Siri's hitting .059, plays great defense, runs the bases well. But the Mets lineup is certainly, and it's early. To start the year, it's top-heavy. But the pitching's been fantastic. The team looks great. And they're 8-3 now. Phillies couldn't get there against the Braves. That one pisses me off. Had a money line. They were up 5-3. Zach Wheeler versus Chris Sale. Both guys stunk. Braves come back down 5-3, win at 7-5. They're 2-8 on the year. Phillies drop to 7-3. Chris Sale, 4 2/3 innings pitched, under on your outs recorded prop. Just 5 Ks, 5 earned, over on your earned runs prop. Wheeler, 5 1/3 innings pitched, under on your outs recorded prop. 5 earned over there. He did get over on strikeouts. It was 6.5, but it was heavily juiced. So it wasn't really a good bet. But he did go for 7 Ks. Uncharacteristic, Wheeler has owned the Atlanta Braves. We talked about it yesterday. 266 at-bats against him. Current Braves hitters were hitting just $195 with a 32% K rate. Well, he got the strikeouts, but the Atlanta Braves absolutely shelled Zach Wheeler in their series opener against the Phillies. Back to the NBA up next. Tony Mejia joins the show. You don't want to miss his picks for Wednesday. It's Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Cashing Out continues with me, Joe Ceraulo, taking you through the late hours of your Tuesday night into your Wednesday morning here on the program. We've got a ton of storylines in the NBA on Wednesday, a locked and loaded slate on the diamond in Major League Baseball. Who better to break it all down with than our friend Tony Mejia, joining us now on the Progressive Guest Line. You can check out his work over at SI.com and, of course, on Proline TV as well. Tony, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, Joe. Still mourning St. John's, obviously, and did not enjoy that Houston lost to Florida because I was on the Cougs. But beyond that, pretty good. NBA is now going to heat up, and love that MLB is back. How have you been?
I'm doing well, man. Sharing a lot of the sentiments that you are. I'm, still bummed about my Johnnies, although excited about what Patino's doing in the transfer portal here. And I was on the Cougars as well. It was a wash for me because I had the under and I had Houston money line and even juice. So betting wise, it was a wash. But man, I was watching that and I have no emotional ties to Houston. I feel for Kelvin Sampson. Does this feel like it was his best shot for you? Do you think the Cougars can be back next year? I actually want to start there because you brought it up, and I felt like this was the year Kelvin was supposed to get his.
Well, look, I know because I watched the McDonald's All-America game that they have one of the better forwards in the country heading over there. So I actually was wondering whether he would have retired and stepped down because Kelvin Sampson, his son, is that coach in waiting at Houston. And he will take over once Calvin retires. But Who knows how long Kelvin wants to be there? And certainly because he got so close, I think that's probably going to factor in to his staying put. But yeah, it was a great opportunity. I just thought Las Vegas native Milo Suzan played a really poor game in both games against Duke and against Florida. And if he plays like he normally does, they win the national championship. So hopefully he'll bounce back as well. He's a great player.
Yeah, a lot of variables there with the entire starting five, really. I mean, the starters played terribly. Talk about shooting inefficiently, 29% from their starting five from the floor. So I hope Sampson can get the remainder of his squad back there in the near future because he's a pretty likable coach. Let's talk about the NBA, though. Speaking of coaches, Michael Malone getting canned with 3 games to go in the Nuggets season. Guy just won a championship less than 2 calendar years ago. I mean, what do you make of that news, and how does that affect betting on the Nuggets here? Final 3 games of the regular season, and then, of course, in the postseason futures market.
I make that Josh Kroenke isn't playing, and apparently he was done with the fact that Michael Malone and Calvin Booth apparently hadn't been speaking to each other. And from my understanding of why that happened is because Booth was really going in with the initiative that they wanted to not go into the first and second aprons and whatnot in terms of the salary cap. And Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is in Orlando instead of back in Denver. And Michael Malone had to deal with that fallout, which was dealing with a young roster. They had injuries. Aaron Gordon missed a lot of time. And they never did get that defense right. And so certainly they've lost 4 in a row, but it was extremely surprising to see that news this morning. It's funny because Michael Malone trashed Sacramento earlier this year for firing Mike Brown, and he was obviously in Sacramento and did not get along with ownership there. And right before the Nuggets make that trip to Sacramento, Michael Malone gets the axe. So it'll be very interesting to see how the Nuggets respond in the short term and for this playoff push.
Well, what's your bet there? What's your take on that game? Denver laying 2.5. I have to imagine they'd be a bigger favorite if the Malone and Booth firing didn't go down. I feel like that's added a couple of points to the Kings side of things. What do you think about that and how to bet this game?
Well, look, the Kings are trying to figure things out on the run. I think it hurt them that Malik Monk had that issue. I don't know if it was injury or illness or both, but it certainly stunted his momentum after the Aaron Fox trade because I thought he picked up really nicely as the lead guard. But they've got DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine going really well. Domantas Sabonis, who missed some time as well, is now back and looks like himself. I don't think they can get any stops. So I think the only way to go here is to the over. And I also think that, it's Denver probably money line if you want to play it, because I would not want to mess around with that short spread. I think it's going to be one of those games that comes down to the wire, and certainly Sacramento has the scorers, especially to take advantage of Denver's porous defense with an interim coach at the helm in Adelman, and make that a really tight game down the stretch.
How about the most highly anticipated game on the NBA slate Wednesday night? Slightly longer spread than this one. The Lakers going to Dallas, laying 4.5. Talk about a disgruntled situation with the front office. No one in that city, maybe no one in that state, happy with the Mavericks front office. It's Luka, it's Anthony Davis on opposite teams. What do you make of this one?
Yeah, not the Bulls in heat for the number 9 seed home court as the most enticing game. No, look, I think it's going to be a hostile atmosphere in Dallas for the Mavericks. And it's going to be an early start, 6:30 local. So Mavericks fans that have really been upset about this are going to get off of work and head to American Airlines Arena or Center. Arena was the Heat. And really make their displeasure felt. And it definitely helps that Anthony Davis has made it back. I thought he was going to be done for the season. But Luka will get a warm reception, and I don't think Dallas is going to get much of a home court advantage. Luka got himself thrown out of the Oklahoma City game, and certainly I think the Lakers will really be up for it. It doesn't matter. It's the second night of a back-to-back. They'll really be up for getting this game for him specifically. So not surprising that the Lakers are favored on the road, despite being playing 2 road games in 48 hours.
Yeah, I'm with you 100% on your breakdown of this one. I mean, I look at this number and, sure, you can say, oh, well, the Lakers, they blew a 1-point lead going into the fourth quarter, and then the Thunder end up not just winning, but covering that game. I think it might have almost been a bit of a look-ahead spot for the Lakers, where obviously they've got the task at hand, that is Oklahoma City, but they already beat the Thunder once, 2 games in a row in OKC. Now they're going to Dallas. They're facing off against Anthony Davis. Luka, I don't even know if Luka knew what city he was in Tuesday night. I think this is the only thing on his mind, and I have a feeling he's going to go otherworldly. But you mentioned the Heat Bulls game. Why don't we bring it up? I mean, these are 2 teams that have been playing more respectable basketball as of late. They've got the play-in berth locked up. We already know who the top 10 seeds are going to be in the East. It's just a matter of order. What do you make of this one? Miami laying 2 at Chicago.
Well, look, the Heat have been playing extremely good basketball of late. They've been doing it shorthanded. Andrew Wiggins has been out of the lineup. They were missing Tyler Hero over the weekend against the Milwaukee Bucks. He came back, but then Bam Adebayo sat against Philadelphia. I think Bam's going to play. I think Hero is definitely in, and it's touch and go on Wiggins. I believe he was still listed as questionable, and we'll see. The Bulls held out, 2 key players in Vucevic and Josh Giddey against the Cavaliers. So it's all hands on deck if whoever's truly healthy enough to go, because neither team wants to be the road team in a winner-take-all game. I believe it's next Wednesday. Loser goes home, so it does help to have the home court advantage in that 9-10 game. And I favor the Heat. I think Khalil Ware is playing well. They're getting nice contributions from Pell Larson, Davion Mitchell, who they got in that trade, and Kyle Anderson has been solid too. So give me Spoelstra getting the job done, but I would bet short money line as opposed to laying the bucket on the road.
Tony, last game in the association I want to get to. The Celtics going to be dogs in Orlando. They've got nothing to play for. 2 seed locked up. They played more guys than I expected at Madison Square Garden Tuesday night. Almost feels like it was a spot where they wanted to take it to the Knicks and complete the season sweep. Now do you see Boston resting guys? I mean, they opened 3-point favorites to already be catching 2 to 3. Obviously, the market thinks that they might be resting some guys. What do you make of the Celtics Magic game?
I do. I can't imagine we see Kristaps Porzingis. He got, hit in the head the other day, played tonight, but sat key stretches. Same thing with Jaylen Brown. I don't think he's right. They had Drew Holiday out there. They want to take care of him. So I can't imagine we see a lot of Boston Celtics in Orlando. Boston games in Orlando are weird because the Magic fans do support Orlando's team, but it seems like Celtics fans come out of the woodwork in Orlando at Kia Center to support their team the couple times they come through town. So it remains to be seen whether Jason Tatum will play. Orlando obviously took care of business against Atlanta. If they win again, I think that wraps up the Southeast Division and the number 7 seed, so it gives them 2 cracks at home to earn that playoff berth. So I would favor the Magic, but again, we'll see what they do second night of a back-to-back, especially the emotional toll after winning a tough game against Atlanta that really secured the division for them.
Tony, final 30 seconds here. Wednesday, we've got 15 games on the diamond, packed slate. You have a best bet in the MLB Wednesday?
I think I like the Pirates over the Cardinals, even though Paul Skeens got beat today. I put in a series bet on the Pirates on Monday. So give me the Pirates as taking 2 out of 3 for the Cardinals in what was a pick'em series, and I would imagine is somewhat of a pick'em on Wednesday.
Yeah, Pirates actually slight dogs at home in this one. Bright and early, 9:30 start time out west here, 12:30 p.m. Eastern. Tony, appreciate the time, my man. Thanks so much for hopping on.
Always, Joe. Appreciate you having me. Thanks.
Make sure you follow him on Twitter at Mejia Dinero. Check out his work at SI.com and, of course, on Proline TV as well. Our buddy Tony Mejia. Going to break down that Wednesday slate on the diamond. Up next, it's Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo.
Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Cashing Out continues with me, Joe Ceraulo, taking you into your Wednesday morning on the program through the late hours of your Tuesday night here. And as we begin to take a look at the Wednesday slate in Major League Baseball. Got some bright and early games, getaway days for some teams. If you're out here on the left coast like we are, you've got 9:30 a.m. baseball, Pirates Cardinals. Just heard our friend Tony Mejia say he likes Pittsburgh in that spot. Pirates, you can get them best price here at Circa, plus 104. Even a bunch of shops, that's probably the most common price. St. Louis living in that minus 112 to minus 118 with a lot of minus 115s out there as ever so slight road favorites. So that'll be 9:35 a.m. Pacific time. Both New York teams, one at home, one on the road in Detroit, will be in action at 10:10 a.m. here, 1:10 p.m. Eastern. Then more games. I kind of like this, actually. Got games all day. Rangers, Cubs, 2:20 p.m. Eastern. Padres, A's at 3:35. And then some 4 o'clock starts. Dodgers, Nationals, Astros, Mariners. And then right all the way up until Brewers, Rockies at 8:40 Eastern, the latest game. So none of those late West Coast 7 p.m. local time, 10 p.m. Eastern starts. But just baseball trickling through from, 12:30 p.m. Eastern until 8:30 p.m. It's like a March Madness round of 64 schedule, and I kind of love it. Let's look at some of these Wednesday notable pitching matchups that our team here have assembled for us. Yankees, Tigers. The Yanks, 40-cent favorites. Max Fried opposite Jack Flaherty. Might be some value as Detroit goes for the sweep at Comerica Ballpark against the Yanks. Mets for the third time in a row this series. All 3 games, they've been favorites longer than $2. Tyler McGill, 2-0 with a sub-1 ERA to start the year. Opposes Max Meyer on the bump. Mentioned the Rangers and Cubs. Cubbies, 55-cent favorites with Shota Imanaga, another sub-1 ERA on the bump, opposite Tyler Mahle, who's been nothing shy of great to start the year. 1-0 with a 1.35 ERA for Texas. Some of the notable matchups in the early games. Later on, that should be a fun one. Hunter Brown, Luis F. Castillo, not to be confused with Luis Castillo, who pitched Tuesday night for the Mariners, opposite Framber Valdez. Astros, 20-cent favorites in that one. Going up against a young pitcher, I'm kind of surprised they are such slight favorites. Could be some value on the board taking Houston there, minus 120 at Seattle. The Blue Jays go for 3 straight wins at Fenway. Kevin Gausman opposite Tanner Houck. The Red Sox, 25-cent favorites. The Jays catching 5 to 10 cents on your board. And then Grant Holmes pitching for the Braves against Tawan Walker and the Phillies. Atlanta, 30-cent favorites. Phillies, plus 110. The hell's the total in that game? I know Walker went, 5 or 6 scoreless against Colorado at home, but now he's in Atlanta. Can we get a total? Let me look that up. Grant Holmes, he's susceptible to getting shelled. Tawan Walker, not someone I think is exactly going to blank the Braves. Let me pull up what that is, because this could be a spot to play the over. I mean, Zach Wheeler and Chris Sale just pitched to an over. 5 earned runs allowed by each. 12 runs ultimately scored. The final 2 both given up by the Phillies pen as Atlanta won at 7-5. This total coming in at a flat 9. I believe that's the highest total of the day. What do we got in Sacramento? 9.5. The market finally catching up. We've got 9.5 between the Padres and the Athletics. That's going to be Randy Vasquez for San Diego opposite, I believe, Oswaldo Beto for the Athletics. Beto, 1-0. Osvaldo, excuse me, not Oswaldo. I want to make sure I pronounce that right. Beto, 1-0 with a 2.7. Vasquez, 0-1, but he's looked pretty sharp each time out with a 1.7 in that one. But don't let those ERAs fool you. The Athletics have hosted 5 games this year after the 10-4 win over the Padres on Tuesday night. There have been 5 overs. That one went over in the first inning. It was 8.5. Athletics led at 6-3 after the first inning. Outscored San Diego 4-1 the rest of the way. We did check in on that in the first hour of cashing out, and the live total was 15.5. Stayed under that live mark, but no shortage of runs in Sacramento at Sutter Health Park to start the season. I want to go back to one of the early games of the day. Yankees, Tigers at Comerica, series finale. Detroit going for a sweep. And they're home dogs in this one, despite having a terrific pitcher on the bump. A guy who could be an ace in many rotations They're number 2 coming into the year because Tarek Skubal, oh, by the way, reigning AL Cy Young Award winner, happens to be on that staff. Skubal started the year 0-2 with an ERA damn near 6. Went 6 shutty against the Yanks in Game 2. We gave out Tigers' first 5 run line. Got a little frisky. Laid a half a run with them, minus 20 cents. That got there. 3 solo homers in the bottom of the 4th. They led it, I believe it was 4-0 after 5 en route to a shutout win. But the Tigers going to be home dogs on Wednesday. Anywhere you look, pretty much between 20 and 30 cents. Yankees laying between 35 and 45 cents as favorites in this one. It's understandable. Max Fried on the bump, their de facto ace after Garrett Cole went down for the year. Fried, I mean, another guy like Flaherty, would be an ace on most staffs. Number 2 because of who he's with, but now the ace because of the Cole injury. It's not Fried, though, that I want to focus on. How about what Jack Flaherty has done against current Yankee hitters? They are 13 for 51 against him as a collective unit, as a team. It's a respectable 255 clip. 4 homers, 3 doubles. They've got some extra base hits in there. They've actually got a good OPS, 860. So it looks like they've hit Flaherty well, but that's when they've hit him. 51 at-bats, tried 24 strikeouts. Nearly a 48% K rate against Flaherty. You got guys like Trent Grisham, 12 at-bats, 4 hits, 7 Ks. Only one of his 8 outs has he put the ball in play, right? Aaron Judge, 4 at-bats, 1 hit, 3 Ks. And that 1 hit was a home run for Judge. So it's either home run or strikeout against Flaherty. Volpe, 5 at-bats, 1 hit, 3 Ks. Bellinger, 15 at-bats, he's 4 for 15, 5 Ks. Goldschmidt, 1 for 6, 4 K. I mean, these guys against Flaherty, it's either a base knock or strike 3. Unbelievable. 24 strikeouts in 51 at-bats. Nearly a 50% K clip. It's, I believe, a little over 47%. Flaherty's K prop coming in, 6.5. Best price, DraftKings, plus 25 cents. Plus money everywhere. Ranges from plus 102 to plus 125. So that's why I always shop around. Talking about a 23-cent difference out there in the market. I'm inclined to go over. I'm really, it's a cold Comerica Park. I am inclined to go over. He just got 7 against the White Sox. It was 6.5 in that one. 42 degrees. I believe, according to weather reports, this is going to be the coldest game on Wednesday's slate. Temps drop. So does offense. Strikeouts increase. Flaherty, since the start of last season, 13% swinging strike rate. 6.5 seems like the move to me. I'd go over. Over 6.5, plus 125. Jack Flaherty. Let's get there. We got a Tigers first 5 bet in on Tuesday. Let's see if we can get there with Jack Flaherty in the series finale. Flaherty Fried. 42 degrees. Maybe an under is worth a look, but that's got to be coming in at 7.5. 7 across the board. Wow. Cold day at Comerica. 7. That's a low total. I don't know if I can get there on that, but the Flaherty K prop is one that intrigues me. I don't think the Yankees had an overwhelming number of strikeouts against Skubal and company on Tuesday. How many times as a team? 9 strikeouts. All right. Skubal had 6 in 6. Herder got the save, 3 innings in relief, 3 strikeouts. Yeah, Flaherty, over 6.5 Ks. We'll lock that in bright and early for Wednesday morning. Folks, good news, you can take VSiN with you anywhere, anytime, so that you know where the money is really going. Unlike other sources, our betting splits come straight from Circa and DraftKings, giving you insight into where the sharp action's landing. Circa is known for taking big bets from the pros, while DraftKings provides a broader market perspective. That means you're getting the real action, not just public money, but the kinds of wagers that move the lines. See the percentage of bets versus the handle on every game across every major sport, helping you make smarter, more informed bets. And get VSiN's summer special right now for just $59 until August 1st at VSiN.com/Circa. subscribe. Coming up next, going to look at the long-awaited, highly anticipated return of Luka Doncic to Dallas. Doncic versus Davis. How about it? A Lakers game and LeBron's not even the main attraction because of the trade that went down a couple months ago. Breaking that down, it's Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo.